All right, I left you hanging on the last video, so we're going to continue on this cancer journey of mine. And again, I really, really encourage folks, if you're watching this and you have a question, there's no dumb question. I asked a lot of them during this whole process, and I feel like I'm relatively knowledgeable, but again, I am not a doctor, so I'm not going to give medical advice. Um, so it's 2022 now, and I'm getting horrible, horrible, horrible vertigo. And I finally get in for an MRI, and I do the scan. It's COVID, so my husband can't come into the hospital with me. It's a small hospital in rural Idaho, and I get done with the scan, and I'm still in the absolute belief that I just have a really bad ear infection. And the nurse comes out and says, the doctor would like to talk to you. Is anybody here with you? Well, obviously, I couldn't drive when my vertigo was that bad. I was like, yeah, well, my husband is, but he's out in the parking lot because he's not allowed in. We said, go get him. And I thought, oh, F me. This isn't going to be good. So I go out, I get my husband. I said, I think it's going to be bad. They want you there. So we go back in and we go into the doctor's office. And he sits down and he proceeds to tell me that they found over a dozen lesions in my brain. And he had talked to a neurosurgeon in Spokane, and there was nothing they could do, and I needed to go home. Get a second opinion, is all I can say. So I was beyond upset, and I was pissed. Like I had been doing everything not for this to come back. And I demanded that they call my oncologist over and over and over again. And I think I ended up calling her. And she immediately called me back because I had talked to the nurse and said, I want you in Spokane tonight. Check yourself into Sacred Heart Hospital. There'll be orders there for you. So I left that diagnosis behind, and we got in our car, drove an hour back home, took 20 minutes to get things organized, get an overnight bag, get a hold of a neighbor to see if he could watch the dog. And we went on our way to Spokane, 3.5 hour drive one way. And Mamie spoke for 5 minutes of it, just held hands with my husband and cried. It's okay to cry, you know? So reflecting back, why I say get a second opinion is how many people went in, got diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic cancer, only to have the doctor say, go home, get your affairs in order, there's nothing we can do. He had consulted with a neurosurgeon. Yes, surgically, there was nothing they could do. But there's radiation, there's chemotherapy, there's immunotherapy, stem cell research being done. All these other options are on the table other than surgical, and that is the only step he took. And when the surgeon rightfully said there is no surgical solution for her problem, that's all that doctor heard. And he heard that she's done. Go home, get your affairs in order. We can give you palliative care. So we get to Spokane and we go to ER, and it's still COVID, so it's like this weird setup. And I get taken back into the ER, and they have my orders, and they go over the scan, and I told them flat out, I do not want to hear the term palliative care. I am going to fight this, and I'm going to beat it. I said, I just want something that'll get me through until there's a solution for cancer, a cure for cancer. So they admit me. Again, it's COVID, so my husband can't go with me. And I go up to my room and they put me on high dose steroids because I was having swelling in my brain, and that was causing actually the vertigo. And so they put me on high dose steroids, and the high dose steroids screwed my vision up. I was wearing glasses because I wear contacts and glasses, and I couldn't even see the TV. I could read, fortunately, a book. And so I read a little bit to calm myself down, talk to my husband. I had a roommate, an elderly lady, and finally was able to get some sleep. Not much. When you're hyped up on steroids, it's even harder to sleep. So the next day, a nurse comes in and she's like, "All right, we're going to take you down for your brachiotomy." And I was like, "I don't know what that is." And she's like, "Well, we have to do a biopsy on the tumors in your lung." And it's like, back the effing bus up. What tumors in my lung? Well, when they did the MRI, there were 3 tumors in my lung, but because I had what ended up being 14 lesions in my brain, the doctor just assumed I would die. And those 3 tumors in my lung were the least of my concerns. And so I was like, oh, great. One more thing. I'm hitting the jackpot, aren't I? And so they rolled me down, put me under light anesthesia, do the biopsy on the tumors and bring me back up. So I am in the hospital for 5 days. And while I'm there, the elderly lady next to me, a nurse comes in and talks to her and says, "What are your wishes?" And she said, "I've lived a good life. I've lost the ones close to me. I just don't want to be in pain." And they're like, "All right." And as the nurse was walking out, I said, "Do not confuse me with her wishes because I don't mind. I haven't lived enough of my life. I'm going to fight this until there's a cure." Back to that. So the following day, it's now Friday, I believe, I go to meet with a radiation oncologist. And he was great. I cried. I was alone. I wasn't with my husband again. And he's showing me, the MRI of my brain. And it's just polka dotted with all these lesions. And he said, "There is very little we can do, but I can do whole brain radiation. There are side effects to that, but I think it's our best bet because there is Gamma Knife, and I'll talk about that later." He said, "But I feel we would miss too many that exist there that aren't showing up or are hidden behind another one." So off I went to get whole brain radiation. I had to get fitted with a mask. It looked pretty scary. Gave it to one of my step grandsons who was into horror movies. He thought that was cool. Good to help. Good thing to wear for Halloween, essentially. And so I started chemo, or not, sorry, I started radiation on that Monday and they wheeled me down. I was in the hospital that day, got my first radiation, and the whole time, because power positive thinking, I was like, ping, 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 ping. Like, do you remember that old arcade game where like the alien ships are coming down and you have to shoot them out of the sky before they come down to where you're at? And that's all I could think of. I was like, I'm shooting these bad boys down while the radiation's going on. Like they're gonna kill it. And so at the end of week 1, we're driving home and I'd felt nauseous. And I had told the nurse that, and I did have some of these dissolvable tabs. So I popped one in my mouth on our 5-minute drive from the hospital to our Airbnb and still threw up. And so I called the nurse and told her what was going on. And she's like, "You need to take that an hour beforehand and apologize." She's like, "I thought we made that clear. And, it's our fault." And I said, "No, it's not." I was probably so upset that I was told that and just didn't hear it. And that's the negative of not having that second person with you. And it was just something I couldn't overcome because of COVID. So I was kind of flying solo and talking to my husband and doing the best I could do. And so because of that, I ended up throwing up. So week 2, I am now in the Airbnb with my dog and my husband. He had a cousin come visit. They were supposed to go ice fishing. And, Brent's like, you don't need to come. And he's like, nope, I'm going to be there. And it was the best thing for both my husband and myself because those two reminisced about their aunts and uncles and summer visits and being on the farm and being up in Black River and and they were laughing and it just brought joy and it kind of took the pressure of this diagnosis off my shoulders, which was amazing and so grateful. And my husband had brought my tablet from work, and I didn't even check it for 5 weeks. That was not my priority. Work was not my priority. I had friends sending me gifts at the Airbnb, which was really sweet, really uplifting. Lots of moral support coming to me. And, you know, embrace that is all I can say. Like, I don't care if you're super religious or not religious at all. If folks are saying, I'm praying for you, I've got you in my thoughts, I've got you in my prayers, they are giving you their strength from where they get it. So their well of strength might come from the church, might come from nature, might come from just being a friend and embrace it. Love that you have that many people that are that concerned about you that they are going to use their strength to try to strengthen you. And so that's my little soapbox there. Because I've had people say, oh, if somebody tells me they're going to pray for me, I'm not religious. It's like, yeah, you don't have to be. Just, be happy that people are out there that concerned that they're going to do something. So I finally finished 2 weeks of whole brain radiation and I go into the next step and I don't even get a break and I'm immediately off for chemo. So I'm home for 5 days and we turn right back around and we go up to Spokane so I can have chemo. I am going to talk about that in the next video because I'm almost out of time.